Airing on offthehooksports.com, your home for real news, real opinions, and what really matters about Tennessee athletics. The Off the Hook podcast at offthehooksports.com or Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or wherever you go for your favorite podcasts. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, TuneIn, iHeart. Like, share, follow, subscribe. Off the Hook with Dave Hooker starts now.
Well, I'm in SEC Media Days, and Cooper Mays back in Knoxville, about to get ready for the season as we are suddenly in mid-July. Please like and subscribe on YouTube so you can get more Tennessee content, also sneak peeks of that content that we put up like this. This will be up even before we push it out during the week at SEC Media Days. So Cooper, nice enough to join us, brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning, cityheatandair.com. It's about integrity at City, and it really is. When it comes to City Heating and Air, not the $39, $29 service fee, and then they want to charge you a whole lot more. They're not like that. That's City Heating and Air Conditioning. That's why they've been in business for over 50 years. So, Coop, how are you, sir?
I'm good. A little bit tired, but I'm good.
I hear you. So, did you your first time visiting with the media, if you can kind of go back over that, because your teammates are going to have to stand in front of about 500 reporters, and they're going to be asked the same questions over and over. That's kind of the nature of the beast. But how did you, because your family was so into it with your brother and your dad, of course, played, the publicity was there. How did you adapt to media coverage, which in and of itself is kind of abnormal and uncomfortable?
Yeah, so I kind of had it easier than a lot of recruits because Cade obviously went through it. So I kind of knew how to. I don't know if you had like a necessary like way to talk to the media, but you don't really divulge as much. It's kind of a lot of people don't really know how to talk to the media when they first start, so they just kind of say some reckless stuff. But my dad and mom and then my older brother kind of coached me up on how to talk to them. So it was a lot easier for me probably than most people.
Yeah, it's you've handled it extremely well. There's a fine line between insight and saying too much, and I think you've given us a whole lot of insight. So, but we definitely don't want to hear about guys that are getting in trouble or anything. But the good thing is everything's going well, so that's not happening. So, you had 3 players coming down to SEC Media Days this week, and it was obviously going to be Hendon Hooker and then everybody else because he's a starting quarterback. He's an upperclassman. He's a potential All-SEC candidate. As a matter of fact, he probably will be preseason All-SEC. Give me your best Hendon Hooker story.
Best Hendon Hooker story is probably we went down to Alabama, and it kind of just like speaks to the character of Hendon, and he's a guy that's tough, really, and just cares so much about the team. And there was a play where it was a pretty blatant, like he threw the ball, and then it was kind of a later hit, and it was more to the head area, and it knocked like 4 of his teeth out. So, and this was probably like the second quarter of the game or something, and he continued on and played like he wasn't even phased at all. So, I mean, that was kind of just a really cool story, kind of to the testament of who he is a little bit.
He went full chiclets? I mean, that is which teeth? Was it the front teeth?
I think it was like the back ones. Like he got hit and it like knocked like half of one of his back 4 molars out.
So much for beef jerky, I guess.
Yeah, I'm sure it wasn't very comfortable.
So how did he respond for that? Just take me back.
Well, I mean, I didn't even hardly know, so I guess he just kind of continued on and just knew what he had to do, and he just kept going. Nobody really talked about it. We kind of just figured out after the fact because our coach was getting on our butt in film about maybe some of our effort on some plays, and he was like, our quarterback's getting his teeth knocked out, and I don't really know. I mean, he took it like a champ, honestly.
You when you look at him as a leader, he goes from a transfer to not the starter, that was Joe Milton, to then the starter. It's kind of hard sometimes when things are changing that rapidly to become a leader, but how has he been able to do so?
he's obviously taken his place as one of the most hardworking individuals in our locker room, and just kind of a really consistent person. So I mean, when you find somebody that's that good on the field and then does it right all the time off the field, they're going to naturally kind of find themselves in like a leadership spot. So that's kind of where he's fit in. He's not, the most vocal, guy or like anything like that, but he's such a great leader just by how he does his day-to-day activities and shows the right example for everybody.
Okay, there was a really, really dumb list that didn't have him among the top 10 quarterbacks in the nation. Now, I don't know if it was an oversight. I'm not even going to reference the website that put it out because it may have been a mistake, but it was really dumb if it wasn't a mistake. Do you think, or do you guys, or does he use that as motivation, even though it is just out there floating around? Is that a motivational thing?
You probably have to ask him. I don't know. If it was me, it would probably I would use it as motivation. So I think Hendon's kind of cut from the same cloth as me, so I'm sure he would as well. But at the end of the day, most of the time, these people making up lists don't really know what they're talking about as far as like knowing what football is and everything. So that's probably where I would stand.
Yeah, there was one guy on the list that had already transferred to another school, and he was with the previous school. So I don't think it was the best list, but it was just enough to get people churned up a little bit in defending Hendon because he is very beloved. It is amazing to think about how differently he is perceived July 2022 as opposed to just a year ago.
Yeah, I mean everybody loves what's going good. So whenever they see something that's going really good, they're always going to love on it. So Hendon's done really good for us. He's done a great job, and there's not much to dislike about Hendon. There's a lot of, he's a really good guy. He does everything the right way. So I think he's going to be successful regardless.
Tell me something I don't know about Cedric Tillman, wide receiver who will be at SEC Media Days.
Something you don't know. I don't know. He's a Kappa. He just joined a fraternity last year, so he's a Kappa. He's pretty much he's Alante's little brother. So I don't know if that's something that you didn't know, but yeah.
Oh, so what is he like? How will he be in front of 500 media members this week?
That's interesting. I don't know. I've never really heard Cedric talk to the media much. He's not a very vocal, like outspoken guy. He kind of stays to himself a little bit most of the time until he gets really comfortable with you. So I'm interested to see how it will go. I don't really know.
Yeah. Is there any one moment from last year where he kind of settled into his role? Anyone's story that you recall that you said, okay, we're good here, so to speak?
Probably when I would say he was at his like all time like confident is probably like Georgia, I would say. I don't really know. I don't know if I recall it correctly, but he had a ton of yards. I'm not really sure how much. You probably know better than I do, but he had a monster of a game against a really great defense. So I think that's probably when he was probably at his all time peak last year.
Gotcha. Let's flip to the other side. I know you don't see him even on the practice field a lot, but Trayvon Flowers will represent Tennessee. What do we not know about Trayvon Flowers?
I would say that he's probably turned into like the unspoken like leader of the defense. Like I think everybody's kind of recognizes him as the guy. So I think that kind of speaks volumes to like his development as a player and off the field, just turning into that guy that everybody can count on. And I think that's kind of why you see him in media days, because the coaches trust him a lot and they have a lot of faith in him doing the right thing. So he's done a tremendous job, really. Even me from the offensive side of the ball, seeing him turn into a leader for the defense and the whole team.
How hungry is this defense to prove that it's not just a one-sided football program?
Oh man, I don't know. I can't answer for the defense. I don't really know. I mean, I think any type of defense that has players like we have, I think they have a lot of pride in what they do. So I'm sure they're out to prove something just as we are on the offensive side. So I think there were a lot of times where the defense did a great job last year, and it's a really long game. We do put them in a hard bind sometimes by how much we score. Like if you look at Kentucky, we were scoring in 2 plays. I mean, I'm sure that's grueling. So they're working on stuff just as much as we are, and I'm sure they've got a lot to prove this year.
When you score really fast, and you can tell they're fatigued because you just score fast on the previous possession, so it's like that Kentucky game is 2 quick scores. You come over and say, "Sorry, that's just kind of where we are." But now you have the lead.
Yeah, no, I didn't say anything. I walked over to my side of the bench where we sit, where we do our corrections and everything with our coach, and sat down and enjoyed my breather for a minute. So I didn't really say much to him for the whole game.
You and I had talked about this before. What is the next step for this offense, Cooper? What would you guys like to accomplish? Maybe not game plan or anything like that, but just kind of big picture as developing as an offense.
Yeah, I would say my biggest focus, and probably the biggest focus of the O line and probably some of the other guys that are in protection, I would say protecting the quarterback on a consistent basis. We know probably Hendon's going to take some hits because he's a mobile quarterback. He likes to try to figure things out. So just the more that we can hold up in protection for longer and pick up the backers that we need to, that would be a good start. I think protecting the quarterback should always be step one.
Tell me about Joe Milton for a second. Things didn't end the way you wanted them to in that Ole Miss game, and he caught an awful lot of heat. Just your thoughts on him being ready to be the backup, and how has he handled this offseason?
I think Joe's done a tremendous job. Honestly, he's somebody that has grown a lot too as a leader. Just as we were talking about Trayvon earlier, I think he's grown a lot as a leader, and he's ready to go at any point we need him to. And I think we have a lot of faith in him. So I think he's done a really good job. He's played a really good part in this offseason. I like where he's heading, honestly.
What's the most nervous you've ever been speaking in front of a group?
Speaking in front of a group?
Or talking to the media or anything like that?
Honestly, I would say like my public speaking class was way worse than any media event, honestly. But I've never had a big problem talking to the media personally, but because I kind of feel like that's my wheelhouse a little bit. But if you get me in a place where I don't feel like I'm, up to snuff with the level of what we're talking about, I don't know. It's tough. I don't like talking to new people personally, but for some reason media's gone fine because I can kind of put stuff together on the fly. But I don't know. I mean, it's weird.
I still remember my public speaking class, and I got nervous as all get out. And I do this for a living now. So I remember, this is how old I am. I did a I don't know, dissertation, whatever you call it, a big paper on the fact that Fox had become the 4th network in addition to ABC, CBS, and NBC. Now you have 500 channels, so it doesn't seem like a big deal to you now. But at the time, nobody challenged those 3 forever for 50 years. And then there's this Fox with this Simpsons show, and they get the NFL, and then boom, it's a thing. That was mine. It was pretty cool. I enjoyed doing it more than I did the speech because I got nervous so I get out. What was yours about?
I think my final speech was about players making money in the college sports. So basically NIL before NIL happened. It's pretty, I think it's pretty common for football players to do that speech. So I wasn't, doing anything earth shattering really, but it was, I just don't like talking in front of people. So, 30 or 40 people in front of me and I don't really know them. It just makes me uncomfortable personally. I don't like talking to strangers.
I got in a debate about this. We had a debate class that you guys deserve to be paid. In 1997, that's how long ago I wanted you guys to get paid. And it just took me, 28 years to actually make it happen.
No doubt. I mean, hey, that's a very progressive thinking on your part. So I'll give you a lot of credit for that. You were before your time.
I was like, at the very least, 20 hours a week, minimum wage. At the very least, that's the starting point. And everybody thought I was crazy at the time. And man, college football was just way behind me, Cooper. That's how I am. I'm progressive.
Yeah, for sure. I see it. I see it. Paving the way for people behind you. I feel it. Like Lewis and Clark in the expedition.
I got one more for Cooper. If right after this, brought to you by City Heat and Air Conditioning.
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard Heating and Air Conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
Dare to compare.
Last thing, Cooper, have you ever said something to the media that you regretted as immediately, like the second you said it?
There was only one time I would say, and it was I think it was during my recruitment, and it was really early in my recruitment when Cade was it really isn't even that bad, but it was like it made me nervous because Cade had been committed to Tennessee for like a year maybe, and I got my offer, and they were basically, I think, interviewing me about the offer, and I think I referred to like Tennessee as we, or like us, and like basically saying that I was like a part of Tennessee. So like I had already committed, but I was obviously not committed. So I felt like people would all like catch on that I said us or we, talking about Tennessee. So that was probably the only time I've said anything really bad. I don't think I've really said anything too off basis yet. Thank the Lord.
Whether it's face to face with gorillas or gorillas in the media, Cooper Mays can handle it. So I appreciate the time. Brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning, cityheatandair.com. This has been a production of Off the Hook Sports.